Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I can't believe it's June already. That's so amazing. It feels like it was just Easter a couple of weeks ago. Time is flying by, but we have two great guests coming up. We have John Fund. You all know John from his many, many years at the Wall Street Journal. You see him on Fox News all the time. He writes with National Review. He works with me at Unleashed Prosperity. He's one of the top political minds in the country. And Tom Del Beccaro. Tom had the thankless job of being the Republican chairman of in the state of California for the Republican Party. That's a very tough job, and he did a great job of it. He has many books, and he's a political expert. My favorite book that I wanted to mention is, I think, the latest book. It's called The Lessons of the American Civilization. And I mention that because it's so perfect for you and your kids to understand the lessons of the American civilization, because that's what 250 is all about. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining. John, I would like to start with you, if I may. We've now had many months of elections, primary elections, and we had a big election in California earlier this week. So far, what would you say is the mood of the voters? You know, as I look at sort of the polling and some of the results we've seen, Republicans aren't too popular, but Democrats aren't too popular either.
Well, the growing mood in California right now is complete frustration with the fact that it's the only state in the country that can't seem to count votes.
Right, exactly. Are they still counting votes?
For 35 days, they will be counting votes. Some counties are not releasing any more ballots until next week sometime.
Wow.
There's something like 30 or 40% of the vote out, and that's because California...
But wait, hold on, John, hold on just 1 second. That election was Tuesday. That was almost a week ago.
Well, everything has sped up in our lives. We get things faster and faster, except for one thing, the voting count. Lots of states, Florida, Texas, others, count votes quickly. California sends a ballot to every registered voter. And by the way, 900,000 of those registrations have been inactive for at least two federal elections. So lots of shenanigans can happen with those ballots floating out there. Then they can be counted if they arrive 7 days after the election. Then they can also be cured. If somebody has a mistake on their ballot, they can come in and cure the ballot. In other words, correct the ballot up to 10 days after the election.
Jeez.
The final certified vote won't be due until July, early July.
So in other words, in California, you have election month, not election day.
You have election month in which people vote in advance. Then you have something called election day where a few people vote.
God.
Then you have election month in which you count the votes. So it's an election season.
God. All right. So Tom Del Beccaro, I'm going to blame this one on you. You were the chairman of the GOP for many years in California. But what John is talking about is truly an outrage. And it's obviously just a road to voter fraud and so on. So what is your take on what's going on in California?
Look, this is what the Democrats want. And they hide under the banner of fairness and justice. But it's wide open. Look, my neighbor still gets 4 ballots in her name. Someone who worked in my office used to get a ballot for someone who lived in the home that she's in 10 years ago. And no matter how many times they tell the registrar that these people don't do it. And so then this is where fraud comes in, because there's a recent law that literally says that the election monitor watching the people count has no right to dispute anything, meaning they just sit there and look and have no right to say a word. So this is one-party rule, and it is mounting frustration. And what you're going to see, Steve, in California is Becerra gain votes, and you're going to see Steyer gain votes, and you won't see Pratt and Hilton keep pace with them.
So putting aside the fraud, which is one of the biggest outrages I've heard in a long time, how do you, Tom, I want to ask you both, I'll start with you, Tom. How do you assess the mood of the California voters? I was just on with Larry Kudlow, and he was reporting that it could be that it might be Tom Steyer and Becerra who are on the ballot, not the Republican Hilton for the governorship because of all this craziness that's going on with the ballot. But what is the mood of the California voters, do you think?
Discouragement. And in addition to what John says, skepticism, discouragement, because their issues aren't getting met.
Right.
It's not like the Democrats are curing homelessness. The Democrats blame Trump, but the homelessness, crime, all these things existed pre-Trump. Right. So they're wearing thin. This is the grounds on which a change can be made. And if somehow Hilton doesn't make it, that has to come with voter fraud. Voter ID on the fall ballot, and a national effort has to be brought to bear to getting that passed. Otherwise, this state could do this perennially.
So, John Fund, what's your take on this? I agree. The people that I know who I talk to in California, and I have Democrats and Republican friends in that state. I think they're discouraged. They're dismayed. They think the whole system is rotten. Yet they keep voting for the Democrats.
Well, look, Tom is right. We have a voter ID measure finally on the ballot in November. It includes other reforms.
Do you think it'll pass?
Voter ID passes whenever it's on the ballot. There's no example of it not passing. People of all races, all genders, everyone supports voter ID. It's the world standard. Almost every country in the world requires you to show ID when you vote. And if you're voting by mail, to at least include the last four digits of your Social Security number to have a protection on that. Right. So people should not give up yet. And secondly, there's just been a lawsuit filed by Judicial Watch, which forced the County of Los Angeles a few years ago to throw over 1.5 million registrations out because they hadn't cleaned the rolls. This lawsuit says there are 900,000 registrations that have been inactive for at least two federal elections. People are voting for some of those ballots that come in the mail to the addresses like Tom described. So I think that lawsuit will succeed because California has accepted federal money for 25 years to clean up their voting processes.
And they haven't done it.
They've accepted the money, but they haven't cleaned up the voter rolls. They are required by federal law to clean up the voter rolls, and I believe this lawsuit will succeed. Voter ID will succeed. So people just keep voting long enough until we get some cavalry over the horizon.
So, Tom Del Beccaro, you've lived in California many years of your life. And I have never lived in California, although I visit there all the time. I think it's an amazing state. I mean, I love the people. I love the weather. I love the mountains. I mean, what's not to like about California? And yet I just don't get how it is when you've got such a discontent, people angry about the direction of the state, and they should be angry. 2 million people have left the state. Why? I mean, why is it that they will not vote for change? I mean, why won't they try something different?
Well, there's multiple aspects to this. California is a very rich place.
Yes.
And many of the voters vote social justice. Their economic situation isn't that bad. The unions, and the demographer Joel Kotkin talks about this, the unions and the upper class. So they vote social justice, not economics. Right. And they're insulated to a significant degree. If you're a union member, you believe you're dependent on Democrats, because a Republican would have the audacity to cut funding elsewhere so that your pension stays alive. So there's a significant aspect of that. There are people who are not voting. There's over 3 million Republicans who don't vote in any one election cycle.
Just they feel it's helpless. Yeah.
Yes, they feel
Steve,
helpless. But can I say something really important that John said to me many years ago about voter fraud? Because you always hear there is no voter fraud. But as John says, no Democrat DA in a state like California is going to make his bones exposing voter fraud or pursuing it. So this perpetuates and why voter ID is so needed.
Well, Steve, what's really important here is that there is a breaking point. We saw it in San Francisco. San Francisco threw out an incompetent mayor. It threw out several Board of Silly Supervisors members. Right. It recalled the school board. It recalled the Soros-backed DA. And Daniel Lurie is doing a good job as mayor of San Francisco.
Yeah, he's good. Yep.
And regardless of how the final votes come in, it appears that almost every tax increase that was on the ballot, whether it's the CEO tax in San Francisco, the supposed emergency tax in Los Angeles County, the tax on second homes in San Diego, all of those appear to have gone down to defeat, and those will probably stick.
So in our last 30 seconds,
there is a breaking point.
Yeah. So our last 30 seconds, can a Republican win either the mayorship of Los Angeles or the governorship?
Someday after voter ID is in. So that's why it has to be a national effort.
Yeah. John?
I believe that there's a 20 to 25% chance that people get mad enough between now and November that they decide social justice is going to be replaced by common sense.